Hey, welcome back to the garden. Now, I had a personal family emergency this week, or last week technically, so things haven't quite gone all that great. I just haven't had much time to be out here working. So let's start with the non-garden stuff. I've been moving dirt from that pond over to fill here, and it's going, but not as fast as I'd like. Oh, and if you see a big pile over there behind the second target of wood, that's where the woodshed's going to go. So been getting materials for that set up. So over here to the garden, I've got these four moringa trees are actually doing pretty well. I'm not sure how they're going to do in the freeze, but like those trees are in buckets, and I'm 5'4", but I can't reach the top of that from the ground. So that's got to be about a 6 foot, 7 foot tall tree, maybe more. We'll see how they do in the winter. My old Thai chili pepper here has, the leaves are like a lighter color and thinner than I remember them being. So this plant may be on its last legs, but that's been producing all winter, so I'm not going to complain too much. I haven't been keeping up on the tomato buckets, and they don't like the heat, so I just kind of let those die. But to my surprise, I've got some growth down there. So I'm not sure if these are going to put on new growth or not. For empty bed. Now, over here with the okra, I haven't been keeping up on harvesting them. And as you can see, I've got some very large okra, and those basically turn into wood and become horrible to eat. And I've also got a huge amount of ants over here. I'm not quite sure the best way to deal with these ants. Probably spray them again. So I've got one okra that's producing well. I've got a little bit from that okra, a little bit from that okra. I think the moral of the story here is we're going to space our okra out a whole lot more next year. For the bell peppers, I've got flowers. Like this is a bell pepper, that's a bell pepper, and I think that thing over there is a bell pepper. But no fruit on them yet. So we'll see how those develop. This thing is a kind of overgrown eggplant, and all of my eggplant are, they're not looking great, but they're also not putting on any fruit. So we're probably not going to do that again. Swiss chard that I really need to start harvesting and haven't been. More Swiss chard. These are probably close to 2 years old at this point. So I think when I get the time, I'm just going to cut those off and dehydrate whatever leaves are there. And here's kind of the rock star of the garden. This bed is Thai chilies and serranos. Good luck figuring out which one's which, I can't tell. And it's still covered with flowers. Now, this thing has been covered with flowers for the last couple weeks. And as you can see, some of the flowers are dying. So I'm hoping I get a bunch of fruit out of those. One other thing that's kind of interesting with this bed, back up without tripping, you'll see they're shorter on that side than that side. And I think what's happening, since the sun comes up over there and basically these plants are in direct sunlight and hotter than these plants have been. And I think that's just stunting their growth a little. If I go over here, I've got some leftover tomatoes from the spring, which are also putting on new growth. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually get fruit off these or not. I'm just kind of letting them go. I think this one's completely dead, and probably so is that. The eggplant here, like that's an eggplant, that's an eggplant, that's an eggplant, are getting bigger, but not producing anything. And then over here, I've got my heirloom tomato, which as you can see is like half dead, but I've got new growth on it. So we'll see how this does. Over here, the bed that I planted beans in, I haven't been keeping up with watering, so the bean seeds may just have completely died. I did leave a cherry tomato plant there and there that got cut down significantly, and they're actually coming up, and One of these had flowers on it. There you can see yellow flowers. Oh, you can see one yellow flower there. So I might get some more cherry tomatoes off those. Those should have a very big root system for the amount of space at the top, because I basically just cut them off. But I don't think I'm getting beans because I just didn't keep the seeds moist enough. If we walk over here, we have the other tomatoes. Okay, technically they're not tomatoes, but they're red. They get watered, they grow, and they give me round food, so they're pretty much tomatoes. Now over here, I clipped the wings of 4 of the birds that kept getting out and left the 2 birds that didn't jump out. And that resulted in 1 more of the birds jumping out, so I clipped her wings, which was a lot of work when you've only got one person, when you've got to clip the feathers with a pair of scissors and hold the bird at the same time. Oh, and there's the materials for the woodshed. I still need to flatten out the foundation, bring some more dirt over. That's pretty much all that's changed in this last week. Yeah, not as much as I'd like, but it is what it is.